Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So glad that you've joined us this morning. We've got a lot of viewer comments to get to. We're going to talk, of course, about Iran. We have some local and New York State issues as well. Let's get right to it. Comment from a viewer. New York City is replacing over 1,000 subway cars. Guess who will be helping out with the cost? Upstate nominated for the 51st state. Encourage your officials to get the ball rolling. Otherwise, due to excessive tax and spend Democrat ideologies and initiatives, you will be cash poor for the rest of your life. Vote Republican and get rid of the trash. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank, and good morning, Mark. President Trump gives Iran 5 more days to comply to opening the Strait of Hormuz and says he is on talks with Iran, but Iran is denying the talks. We will discuss that in just a moment. Comment from a different viewer. Hi, Frank. My name is Tim O. Hi, Tim. We live out toward Erin, New York. Well, hey, welcome to the program. We live in an area that pays hefty taxes, but receives little, if any, services to just exist. Police make jokes about coming to our area when there is trouble. We have a bigger problem. No mail service. We have boxes. We have post offices. We have people that drive around in mail trucks, but they do not pick up or deliver only once or twice a week. We went to the Horseheads post office to explain the issue, and they just laughed in our faces. We have lost pension checks, lost gifts, and when you specifically ask to have something picked up or delivered, nobody knows anything. Many times we have gone to the Horseheads post office to complain, and they laugh at us. We have tried to put mail in the big blue boxes outside of the Horseheads post office, and you could not because it was so full. When going in to tell them it was so full, they laughed at us. Maybe instead of purchasing clown trucks that don't work in our area, they should focus on the job at hand. Deliver the darn mail. You know, Tim, thanks for writing in. You're not the first person. I don't think it was specifically to Aaron, but you're not the first person who has questioned the delivery of mail in our area, and sometimes the lack of deliveries, the lack of pickup. So if anybody has any ideas on what to do, I would be all ears. Tim also continued, forgot to say your show is both wonderful and the best news and commentary out there. Well, thank you. That's not the only reason I read your comment, okay? Please keep sending comments in, but this is helpful. Grew up in Elmira, left in the 70s, worked across the U.S. and Western Europe. Wow. Retired and just figuring out how my wife and I can survive. Thank you so much for your continuous objectivity about our community and country. Well, thank you so much. That's so nice of you, Tim. You made my day this morning. I do appreciate it. Before we get into kind of the heavy news, and I do have a lot of political updates, just kind of random about certain politicians, certain parties. We'll hopefully get to that a little bit later on. But I thought we'll kick off the program with kind of a neat one. President Donald Trump stopped at Graceland before heading back to Washington, D.C. on Monday, following a Memphis Safe Task Force roundtable in Tennessee. Trump told reporters how much he admires Elvis Presley, of course, the king of rock and roll. And if you're not familiar, I know we have a lot of music fans out there, but that's where Elvis lived. It was Graceland. He said, I love Elvis. Elvis, you know, they all say, did you know Elvis? Well, I knew Frank Sinatra. I knew most of them. Unfortunately, I never met Elvis, and that would be one I would have liked a lot. But I do like his music. I've never been here, no, meaning Graceland. I'm a big fan of Elvis. Who isn't, right? But I think he's great. I think his music is incredible. I understood his life. His life was complicated. It was complicated, but he was terrific. He was born with a voice that he never lost, right? He had other difficulties, but he never lost that voice. And he loved his mom so much, and the father, but he really loved his mom. And I think when his mom went, it was very hard for him. Trump was also invited to sign a replica guitar of what Presley played during the Aloha from Hawaii concert in 1973, the president calling it a big honor. Well, that's an interesting one. Never been to Graceland before. Me either. But you would have thought at some point Trump would have. You know he would love Graceland for how ornate it is. I just thought that was a kind of one you're not going to see elsewhere. And I know we have a lot of music fans out there and a lot of Elvis fans, myself included, so I thought I'd mention it. Okay, Iran did launch a fresh wave of missiles at Israel yesterday actually really technically early this morning, and 6 people were left injured following a strike in Tel Aviv. Air raid sirens rang out across parts of Israel, and one munition, which damaged buildings and cars in Tel Aviv, contained 100 kilograms of explosives, according to the Times of Israel. 3 buildings were significantly damaged by the Iranian warhead. Home Front Command official Colonel Mickey David said the projectile appeared to be smaller than conventional warheads fired by Iran. Iran also fired missiles on northern and southern Israel, but no injuries were reported. Footage shared by KAN News showed an Iranian missile being intercepted, but a home in the suburb of the city was damaged. One man in northern Israel was injured after stepping on a missile fragment. Iranian missiles were also detected headed towards Jerusalem, prompting politicians in the country's parliament to shelter. Now, the U.S. Central Command touted continued strikes on Iran even after Trump paused attacks on energy targets. The U.S. is continuing to aggressively strike Iran after President Trump imposed a 5-day pause on attacks against Tehran's energy infrastructure following, quote, very good and productive conversations. And to Mark's point, Iran is denying those conversations. U.S. Central Command made clear that non-energy targets within Iran are still very much in play as Trump conveys optimism about the possibility of cutting some sort of deal with the Islamic Republic by the end of the week. CENTCOM said U.S. forces continue to aggressively strike Iranian military targets with precision munition. Okay. U.S. Central Command, which coordinates American military operations in the Middle East, did not disclose what specific target was struck in the video. Now, earlier in the day, Trump announced that after 2 days of negotiations with representatives from Iran, he had decided to halt attacks on Tehran's power plants and infrastructure for 5 days. The announcement, which came shortly before the New York Stock Exchange opened, prompted a massive rebound within the stock market, prompting the Dow Jones to jump over 630 points after weeks of decline. But key officials in Iran quickly disputed Trump's claim, with Iran's parliamentary speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, denying the talks took place, saying, quote, no negotiations have been held with the U.S., and fake news is used to manipulate the financial and oil markets and escape the quagmire in which the U.S. and Israel are trapped. Iran's foreign minister also hit back at the claims, telling state media that remarks by the U.S. president are part of efforts to reduce energy prices and buy time to implement his military plans. Trump didn't disclose the Iranian official with whom his administration held talks, fretting that he couldn't divulge that because, quote, I don't want them to be killed. He claimed the special envoy, Steve Witkoff, held the talks for his administration. Now, this is, you would think this is CNN's headline. I saw this morning on CNN. It said, Trump can't taco his way out of this one, meaning Trump always chickens out, that old saying. Well, Iran's media, sounding very similar to CNN here, said Trump backed down. Trump, fearing Iran's response, backed down from his 48-hour ultimatum. All right. Trump and America have backed down. The field is still charging forward. Another defeat for the devil, said spokesperson of the National Security and Foreign Policy Commission in a tweet. Iran's Fars news agency also denied claims of dialogue, stating that Trump retreated due to Iranian threats. Now, Israeli Prime Minister, how am I doing? Good. Benjamin Netanyahu said yesterday that any potential deal with Iran would, quote, protect our vital interests, after speaking with the president, who he said believes there is a chance to reach an agreement as negotiations to potentially end the conflict move forward. In a video statement, Netanyahu said Trump believes there is a chance to leverage the massive achievements of the IDF and the U.S. military in order to achieve the goals of the war through an agreement that protects our vital interests. Only days ago, we eliminated 2 more nuclear scientists, and our arm is still outstretched. Now, earlier yesterday, Trump did announce on Truth Social that the United States and Iran had held very good and productive conversations, as I mentioned. Politico is reporting that Trump's administration is eyeing Iran's parliament speaker as perhaps the U.S.-backed leader. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf is seen by at least some in the White House as a workable partner. now he's 64 years old, who has repeatedly threatened the U.S. and its allies with retaliation, is seen by at least some in the White House as a workable partner who could lead Iran and negotiate with the Trump administration in the war's next phase, according to two administration officials. But the White House isn't ready to commit to any one person, hoping to stress test multiple candidates as they look for someone willing to make a deal. He's a hot option, one administration official said, but no decision had been made. He's one of the highest, but we got to test them, and we can't rush into it. The administration's interest in pinpointing a negotiating partner signals a desire to find some way out of the quagmire that Iran has quickly become. Wow, they're going to use quagmire a lot, aren't they? Jolting world markets, spiking oil prices, and renewing concerns about inflation, and it hints at answers to a critical question now that the U.S. and Israel have decimated trans leadership. What and who comes next? White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said these are sensitive diplomatic discussions, and the United States will not negotiate through the news media. President Trump hinted Monday at outreach to very solid figures inside Iran and said there would be a 5-day pause on any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. Now, he also said that we don't know if Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is alive. We'll talk about that in just a second. We got a couple other updates on Iran. Then we've got a bunch of other issues like that we have to at least mention, such as Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was confirmed by the Senate. We'll give you more information about that. Like I said, New York State issues. A lot to cover this morning. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we will be right back after this.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Allegiant's flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Hello there. Tuesday will send us well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s. Again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills a bit into Friday, but drier thereafter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We had some people reporting that I guess this doesn't matter if they don't hear audio, but they're saying they're having issues with audio, but others are telling me that I reached out to that it's fine, so I'm not sure. Maybe it could be, I don't know. Everybody tells me it's all good there, but I can't listen to myself. So we'll continue as if nothing is wrong. President Trump said Monday it was unclear whether Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is alive, saying, "We have not heard from the son. We don't know if he's living." Moments earlier, the president had stated that the U.S. was engaged in discussions that could end the Middle Eastern war with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader of Iran. When asked if he was referring to the supreme leader, Trump responded, no. Ali Khamenei was killed. Khamenei's son is unavailable. Nobody knows what happened to him. I can say they haven't seen him there either. Something is going on with him. But regardless, I don't consider him really the leader. But they do have some leaders left. There can't be that many leaders left. Yeah, antenna. Okay, everybody says audio is working okay. Thank you. Thank you for everybody. I'll make sure to text that person during the break. Now, it is being reported that Pentagon officials are weighing deployment of airborne troops to the Iran war. The combat forces would come from a brigade of about 3,000 soldiers capable of deploying anywhere in the world within 18 hours. It's the Army's 82nd Airborne Division. The official described the military action as prudent planning, noting nothing had been ordered by the Pentagon or U.S. Central Command, which declined to comment. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity, so take this with a grain of salt. The combat forces would come from the 82nd Airborne's Immediate Response Force, a brigade of about 3,000 soldiers capable of deploying, as I said, anywhere in the world within 18 hours. These forces could be used to seize Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. Now, of course, in typical fashion, CNN writes, Trump's suspiciously timed announcement on Iran. On Saturday evening, Trump said Iran had 48 hours to either open up the Strait of Hormuz and unshackle the global economy, or he would strike Iran's biggest power plant. By Monday morning, he said he would give it 5 more days, citing improved negotiations with Tehran. Hey, Canastille's with us. Thank you very much. All right. Say hi to everybody in Canastille for me. But Iran has denied any dialogue with Washington, and while there's certainly reason to not take officials at their words, the diverging stories and Trump's own credibility problems, this is CNN, open the possibility that something else motivated him to back down. That includes possible fears that such a move could escalate the war and global economic pain. Trump's critics are calling it Trump's latest taco, an acronym for Trump always chickens out. That's difficult to prove, but the decision follows another undeniable Trump pattern. His announcements often seem conveniently tied to the open and close of financial markets. Anyway, they go through a history of the financial market scenario. But now, Trump has conveniently delayed his own red line, as it happens, until after the markets are closed for the weekend. Adam Schiff was on CNN's The Source yesterday, and he claims that President Donald Trump is losing, quote, credibility as a commander-in-chief. This again, Senator Adam Schiff, who's never had any kind of credibility, saying, I'd love to see this war come to an end. And if what the president is saying is true, that's encouraging. But of course, we've heard the president say things that have proved to be completely untrue in the past. We really don't know what to believe. Whether these talks are serious, whether they're close to any agreement, or whether this is Donald Trump just trying to bring down the prices at the pump. Something he's very sensitive to because he's getting a lot of backlash around the country. The fact, though, that he has allowed Iran to sell $14 billion worth of oil and allowed Russia oil to be sold and lifted sanctions on Russian oil, I agree, just shows how incredibly mishandled and poorly planned this whole war has been. The idea that we're going to enrich countries, in Russia's case, that are giving targeting information to Iran, in Iran's case, trying to kill us, we're going to give them oil, money is really unthinkable. Didn't seem to be a problem when the Obama administration gave Iran a lot of money, pallets of money. Interesting. What do you call that? Oh, yeah, that's right, hypocrisy. Schiff said the deadline never seems serious to me. And it didn't seem serious to me. I doubt it seems serious to Iran, so I don't know what to make of this 5-day delay. The president does this quite frequently. He will say, I'm going to do this in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks comes and he pushes it down the road. It just causes you to lose credibility as a commander-in-chief, so I don't know how serious the threat was to begin with. We don't know how serious the negotiations are now. If you're talking about losing credibility for kicking the can down the road, isn't that what the Senate historically does? A lot of moving pieces there from Adam Schiff. No real self-awareness. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, of course, he was also on CNN. Surprise, surprise. Van Hollen said, well, that would be a war crime. Did we just... That's weird. Almost looked like the street lost power there for a second. We're having all types of fun here this morning. You say, so he said, well, that could be a war crime. If the president just goes and targets Iran's infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, there are very narrow circumstances where a country can target infrastructure for military purposes. But the president has said here is, unless you open the Strait of Hormuz, we're going to blow up all your civilian infrastructure, which is clearly a violation of international law. And so the president should be held accountable in international tribunals or in the United States. And I had that story for you. I think it was the New Republic that posted last week saying that after Trump's presidency, there's going to be no rest or retirement. There'll be lawsuits. They could even throw him in The Hague. But I'll continue. There are ways that people can bring cases, against individuals in the United States who have committed war crimes. Obviously, while the president is in the White House, the Supreme Court has made it much more difficult to hold the president accountable. But when he leaves office, he could still be vulnerable to accountability through the courts and obviously international tribunals as well. But again, hopefully we won't get to that point. We should also have an investigation into exactly what happened when a U.S. Tomahawk missile killed over 100 Iranian schoolgirls. I mean, we have a Secretary of Defense who said he wanted to get rid of what he said were stupid rules of engagement. Those rules of engagement are designed to uphold international law and prevent civilian harm. Now, I don't know if... we've got one other thing on this, and then we're going to move along. A couple other international stories. I don't want to run too late. I see a lot of comments, a lot of waves coming in. Keep them coming in. I do appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
It's the home of Tivity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh?
Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor.
How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organ.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Got a lot of comments coming in. Got a little distracted there for a second. All right. So the senator says that people could sue after Trump leaves office. I wonder, did the families of the 7 people Biden erroneously wiped out in Afghanistan for retribution sue? That's a great question. I don't think so. This is what they're signaling is they're setting a precedent. We saw it in the last term as well of President Trump that it is going to be a constant attack after he is. As a matter of fact, if you really want to get down to it, this is how sick people have become with it. I was going to save this for later, but since we've got back-to-back, and it kind of ties in with what this viewer is saying, Trump's Death will be like Mardi Gras in New Orleans, said radio host Charlemagne. This was in reference to Trump saying about Robert Mueller, quote, good, I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Charlemagne accused Trump of hypocrisy after previously cracking down on foreign nationals who openly celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. I mean, you've already ruined yours because you're going to go down as the worst president of all time because you don't give a darn about democracy. Wow, okay. But you are also putting yourself in a position that when you pass, people are going to treat it like Mardi Gras in New Orleans. The celebration folks are going to have the things people are going to say about you when you pass. Mr. President, I don't care about how many buildings you put your name on, bridges, tunnels. They can create holidays. None of that will matter because you have hurt way too many people. And more importantly, you get back the energy you put out. Do you care? Do you care what Barron sees about you after you pass? Do you care what Melania sees about you after you pass? What about your grandkids? Wow. Now, in a comment to Fox News Digital, White House spokesperson Davis Ingle pointed to social posts from Trump in August calling Charlemagne a, quote, racist sleazebag and a low IQ individual. He has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth and knows nothing about me or what I have done. Like just ending 5 wars, including a 31-year bloodbath between the Republic of Congo and Rwanda, where 7 million people have died, and there was no end in sight. He didn't know that, or India and Pakistan, or wiping out Iran's nuclear capabilities, or closing the horrendous open border, or creating the greatest economy where prices and inflation have come way down, and where stupid and corrupt Joe Biden set the record for doing the worst job as president ever. Also, Anna Navarra on The View, echoing what Charlemagne said, she said there's something particularly galling about the commander-in-chief in the middle of a war taking a true social to attack somebody who won a Bronze Star and Purple Heart while Commander Bone Spurs was dodging the draft. It's the hypocrisy of this entire situation that I think that this just is something that we can't get numb to. And I just want to remind people, though, because I haven't heard very few Republicans condemn this weekend. I saw the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, say we should have empathy, not for the family of Robert Mueller, but for Donald Trump, is who we should have empathy for. This is the same thing he did with John McCain after he died, the same thing he did with Rob Reiner. This is who he is because he is a mean person with a dark heart, verbal diarrhea, and no impulse control. Let me just say this, karma never forgets an address. And he is 80 years old. He's got obvious, visible physical ailments. Interesting. And there will be people that when he passes away, as we will all pass away, will write these type of things and celebrate. If you don't condemn it today from him, you don't have a right to condemn it then from anybody. They act as if he didn't say that about Robert Mueller, that they were going to be respectful. I mean, but it just tied in with what the viewer was saying. So I do appreciate that. Oh my goodness. We got a lot of comments coming in. Jack wrote in, I'm watching from Florida, so it's working there. Mark says, my problem of our military taking over that island is we do it, and then Iran bombs the heck out of it, killing a bunch of soldiers. That's a good point. And then this is a nice comment. Good morning, Frank. I love the show, with a heart. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate that. I'm glad you like the show. Love the show. Excuse me. I didn't mean to paraphrase. I do appreciate that. And just when you see things like that said by Anna Navarro, now I didn't mean to get down this rabbit hole, but Anna Navarro or Charlemagne, then you hear this, and it is troubling. We know that the president has had at least 2 assassination attempts on his life. Well, an Oregon man is back in police custody after threatening to, quote, kill the president in a slew of text messages to his probation officer. This guy doesn't maybe seem like he's healthy. Diedrich Holgate, 47, was convicted and sentenced last July after making threats on social media and placing several direct calls to the U.S. Secret Service Washington field office, threatening to kill then presidential candidate Donald Trump and then President Joe Biden. In a June 2024 call to the Secret Service, Holgate said, I have the right to kill the president. I will kill everyone, he said. The president, quote, the president is going to die. I don't care if it is Trump or Biden. I will hang everyone for treason. Interesting. 2 months later, Holgate called the field office again, threatening to hang them for treason and saying no one is safe, including the First Lady and Supreme Court justices. Okay, Holgate was released from custody on January 21st and was ordered to live in a halfway house. Just weeks after being released from prison, Holgate's probation officer filed a petition to revoke his probation for several violations, including continued death threats towards the president. Quote, Holgate has made multiple threatening statements via text message to his probation officer. Probable cause has been established that a violation of supervised release has been committed. Holgate sent his probation officer several text messages that include Trump's gonna blanking pardon me or I'll kill him. You're with me or you're a traitor, an infidel. That's taken the mark of the beast. That won't last forever. Second death, you'll be erased. Yes, I think unhinged could be the word. Anyway, you just tie that in when you have people fanning the flames, like that disgusting remark by Ana Navarro and Charlemagne. Okay, quickly, I said I was going to mention this. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer clashed with Joe Scarborough on MSN Now. Scarborough pushed the Democrat senator to acknowledge that it was a good thing that Iran's military capabilities have been degraded as a result of the war. You would think that Chuck Schumer could do that. Scarborough asked Schumer if degrading Iran's military infrastructure was a good thing. Schumer argued that it was a premature question after taking aim at gas prices, which had skyrocketed. All right, so Senator, hold on a second. You got to answer my question first. Is it a good thing that Iran, and I think you would agree with me, epicenter of terrorism in the world since 1979, is it good that their military infrastructure is being degraded to the degree that it is, yes or no? Schumer then wondered about what might happen in the coming months as a result of the war, as Scarborough argued that he was separating the military side from the political side. I'm simply asking on the military side, is it good, regardless of whether we agree with going in or not, is it good that Iran's military infrastructure has been seriously degraded? Schumer again responded with questions about the economic effects of the war and about what might happen next, with Mika Brzezinski arguing that it was a trick question. It's a trick question because if you do not strategize the consequences of the action, the military action, if you obliterate and do all these things, but you don't actually play out in your minds and have strategy for the consequences, then it's not. Scarborough then jumped in and answered the question himself and said it was a good thing that Iran's military capabilities have been weakened and argued that Americans would say so as well. Well, Schumer didn't like it, saying, Joe, in all due respect, if you ask the American people if you have the choice of degrading the military structure in Iran by having gasoline be $6 a gallon and our economy falling into a deep recession where millions lose their job, what do you think? And again, Scarborough saying, you're not listening to me. It's a different political, and we're talking military. All right. Why don't we talk about the Yankees? Because you're not following me here. With all due respect, I just don't agree with you. You don't see that very often. That's why I had to mention it. Speaking of international, emerging from their latest blackout, Cuba says they're ready for any potential U.S. attack. As the island nation begins to recover from yet another blackout under a punishing oil blockade imposed by Washington that has pushed its economy to the brink, Deputy Foreign Minister Carlos Fernandez de Casio responded on Sunday to Trump's threats this week to take over Cuba, insisting that it had historically been ready to mobilize as a nation for military aggression. I wondered why there wasn't more talks of that when Trump said it, other than in the American media. Then you realize, they were in a blackout. They couldn't even respond to Trump's quote-unquote threat. DeCasio was on Meet the Press on NBC saying, we don't believe it is something that is probable, but we would be naive if we do not prepare. All right. There you go. All right, let's take a short break. Thank you for all the waves and all the comments coming in. We'll get caught up on those when we return. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Tired of the cold weather? Sunny days are closer than you think. Get ready now for fun later with a boat, camper, or RV loan from Servview Credit Union at just 5.99% APR for up to 10 years. Adventure is waiting. Apply today.
There have always been a few ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Our Tuesday will send us well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s, again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills a bit into Friday, but drier thereafter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. These Democrats are so delusional, it isn't even funny anymore. They are a dangerous threat to the Republic, and Trump was correct in declaring them so, which should start in the military tribunals for their treasonous, seditious behavior. He can't be tried. Oh, then, different one. He can't be tried, meaning Trump, for any crimes after he leaves office. It's that presidential immunity, just like the Supreme Court ruled in all those court cases. They're going to blame Trump long after he's in the ground. That's for sure. I mean, to act as if now. I know, it's laughable. Coming from a different viewer, that Holgate guy is a prime example of the type of illegal aliens other countries have sent to the U.S. during the dark Biden years. Thank you. And Ken writes in, Shifty Schiff has no idea that everyone knows anytime he opens his mouth, he's lying. He's lost any credibility he ever had when he said on multiple news outlets that he had proof that Trump colluded with Russia. Incontrovertible proof that Trump colluded with Russia. I should have read that ahead of time. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. Hey, yesterday, the Senate did confirm Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to replace Kristi Noem as a Homeland Security Secretary, even though we know that Rand Paul wasn't going to vote for him, and they got into that spat. Well, in a 54-45 vote, the Oklahoma Republican senator was approved to lead the beleaguered Department of Homeland Security, where carrying out the president's mass deportation actions has led to low approval in the second year of his term. Even some Republicans have been harshly critical of ICE tactics, as well as the heated rhetoric coming from Noem and use of taxpayer funds for more than $220 million ad campaign starring herself. I'm going to give you another update on that because I do think it's worth mentioning. I mean, I think there was, and correct me if I'm wrong, please feel free to weigh in. I think when Noem was originally chosen, I think many Trump supporters were reluctant or hesitant to kind of embrace that pick. She historically has proven herself to maybe thinking she's better at public relations than she is. For instance, the story about her shooting her dog in the book, why that would ever come out, why you'd ever make that be a part of your life story. And then you saw with this ad campaign, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. So I think this is a good thing, kind of a fresh start, if you will. Just two Democrats, Senators John Fetterman and Martin Heinrich, a Democrat from New Mexico, supported Mullen to helm DHS, along with 52 Republicans. And you guessed it, Rand Paul was the lone GOP no vote on his confirmation. I'm not always agreeing with Rand Paul. I'm not always disagreeing with him. I just don't think he handled this right. It became, I guess and I understand why it became personal, but I just don't think, normally I think he's better at handling certain scenarios. And I just don't think he did on this one. I think it turned out making him look bad, interestingly enough, but you can disagree with me on that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The freshman senator who moved over from the House in 2023 after winning the race to replace retiring Senator Jim Inhofe will now lead more than 250,000 federal law enforcement officers at a department that has been shut down for 37 days due to Democratic opposition. One Republican told the New York Post, the speed at which the Senate is confirming Senator Mullen shows just how important he is to them, the administration, and the mission President Trump made a focal point of his 2024 campaign. A former mixed martial arts fighter, Mullen is known for fostering some of his most collegial relationships through a bipartisan, bicameral workout group that meets every morning on Capitol Hill. His boundless energy often has him in the halls of the Senate bouncing a pink rubber ball, a keepsake from middle school that he's dubbed his pacifier. I hope whoever's assigned to his security detail is ready to keep up, said John Thune in his floor speech. Mullen's warm personal feelings for his family and fellow lawmakers were also on display during the confirmation fight, during which he fought back tears, sharing how Trump personally cared for his teenage son and footed the bill up for treatments when he was struck with a traumatic brain injury. But Paul clashed with him, as we know. I don't know how. What do you think? How do you think Rand Paul came out looking in that? Just out of curiosity. But Mullen's warm working relationship with Republicans and Democrats, as well as O'Brien, who was the Teamsters president, whom he now considers a good friend, helped secure Senator John Fetterman's support to clear the committee and others to eventually be confirmed on the Senate floor. Senator Martin Heinrich said in a statement Sunday before the vote that he has a constructive working relationship with Mullen and looked forward to discussing issues critical to his border state with someone besides Trump's previous DHS chiefs. Fetterman added, we need a leader at DHS. We must reopen DHS. My eye is rooted in a strong, committed, constructive working relationship with Senator Mullen for our nation's security. So congratulations to Senator Mark Wayne Mullen to replace Kristi Noem. Now, we learned yesterday, before we take another break, and I keep those comments coming in, taxpayers, you and I, shelled out more than $200,000 in production costs for an ad that featured now fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem riding around Mount Rushmore on horseback. Now, take it with a grain of salt. This was released by Democrat lawmakers, but we know it was a large ad buy. A lot of people were outraged because the ad buy seemed to be for relatively new companies that had some type of relationship with Noem, some type of friendship with Noem. But the payments were made under a subcontract issued to the Strategy Group company as part of the controversial $220 million advertising campaign authorized by Noem. Now, many people believe this was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, that when Trump saw the hearing and there's two things. When she said that Trump approved the ad buy, and remember, it wasn't a Democrat that set her up for this. It was John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, Republican. So, not set her up either. I mean, rightfully so, calling her out on this waste of money. She said, no, Trump knew all about it. Trump didn't like that, number one. And number two, the way she didn't handle or didn't answer the question about what some have questioned that could be an inappropriate relationship with Corey Lewandowski, that she wouldn't give a yes or no. So those two things combined were kind of the end of the Noem era. So if you look at this, the breakdown of the ad's production costs, so this isn't even buying the airtime to play the spot that was completely focused on her. A partial invoice provided to Senator Welch and Senator Richard Blumenthal show the Strategy Group company spent $20,000 on horse rentals. $20,000 on horse rentals for the ad. $3,781 on hair and makeup. $52,599 on videography, photography, and production vendors. And this is weird, $41,852 on, quote, other vendors. The Strategy Group company billed $107,000 for labor cost and a $60,000 for a signing bonus. And for some reason, the South Dakota Magic Store was also paid $500 by the subcontractor. Listen, I'm glad this was exposed. I mean, we know, and that's the problem that I've had with Noam from the beginning. And just like when she told a story about her dog, she wants to be the center of attention, and in this case was using your money to do it. What a waste. But yes, definitely. And then there's questions about who was running these firms that got all this money. Yeah, just had to mention that. But I hear the corning whistle. That can mean only one thing. It's time to take our short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
This was our last chance to show who our son was. I can't say enough about pre-planning. When you are in those moments, you are not thinking clearly.
We showed up for the remembrance, and we walked in and we just, wow.
It was arranged perfectly. Yeah. I certainly could not have done that in that moment. So to have those pre-conversations, it's really important.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
Every as a community, a neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups, communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes in, the military people over in Iran are giving their all. So to me, paying more for fuel to get rid of terrorism is a small sacrifice for us compared to what the military are doing. That's a very good point, Mark. I appreciate that. Comment from a different viewer. I never liked Rand Paul. He is as shifty as Shifty Schiff. Boy, you guys are trying to get me in trouble. A tongue twister on that could get me out of a job. I think Paul is a contrarian fool. Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys, and they used to say it about his father, too. It's easy to vote no on everything and look like you're fighting power or, trying to, I don't know, be better than everybody else. I would agree with you. I don't think he's as bad as Adam Schiff. I will say that. But he is a contrarian, that's for sure. Comment from a different viewer. How in the heck did Noam spend $220 million without Trump knowing it? And Congress, for that matter. That's pretty scary when you think about it. Yeah, absolutely. When you think about the kind of money we're talking about in Washington, that $220 million flies under the radar, especially since the commercials ran for 3 months before anyone called them out. And that was what was so surprising in that hearing. I don't think she was ready for the question. I don't think we were. Kennedy did a great job, and there might have been others involved. I just remember his specific line of questioning. When he called it out, it was shocking. And then when you saw the ad, that it was basically, because don't think for a moment she doesn't have this kind of delusion of grandeur where she thinks she can run for going to win president. So it was kind of like an early campaign ad paid for by you and I. But when you start looking at the cost, $20,000 for horse rentals and things like that, and then the overall picture with the ad buy and everything, $220 million for what was basically a vanity campaign. So between that and the answer on Corey Lewandowski, that was the end of Kristi Noem. The Supreme Court yesterday offered sharp ideological differences in considering a Mississippi election law that allows for the counting of mail-in ballots received after Election Day, a high-stakes court fight that could have significant implications for the November midterms and determining who gets control of the new Congress. Justices heard roughly 2 hours of oral arguments in the case Watson v. Republican National Committee, centered on a 2024 lawsuit brought against Mississippi state law that allows for the counting of mail-in ballots received up to 5 days after the election, so long as they are postmarked by or before Election Day. Mississippi is one of 14 states, as well as the District of Columbia and 3 U.S. territories, that currently allows for the counting of late arrival mail-in ballots as long as the ballots are postmarked by or before Election Day. The High Court's review of the case comes as President Trump is focused on mail-in voting during his second White House term and has argued that such laws undermine voter confidence. Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett could be the deciding vote on the matter, and use their time to ask tough questions to lawyers on both sides, such as if Election Day is the voting and taking, then it has to be done that day. Roberts said. He also questioned whether the interpretation of Election Day could impact every vote, asking lawyers whether their logic requires a different consideration for early ballots. Is there any limit to that? Fill out a ballot and drop it off 2 weeks before? So it looks as if the conservatives are ready on curbing the late arriving mail-in ballots, but you never know when you talk about the quote-unquote conservatives on the Supreme Court. The High Court is expected to rule on the state's counting of mail-in ballots by June. Republican Party officials told Fox News, saying Watson v. RNC is about a simple principle. Ballots must be received by Election Day. This prevents elections from dragging out for days and weeks after voters have cast their ballots, causing confusion and undermining our elections. All right, let's take our last break of this hour. I see some comments coming in. Keep them coming in. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with viewer comments. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At Simmons Rockwell, you'll find brand new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo X 4x4s for only $36,999 during the Declaration of Deals event going on now at Simmons Rockwell Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Bath.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Yay! Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Tuesday will send us well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s, again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills a bit into Friday, but drier thereafter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. A couple comments from viewers. Well, Kennedy didn't know anything about it until the hearing anyway. He assumed Trump had approved it. He actually called Trump the night before, and then when he found out Trump knew nothing about it, he flew off the handle. That's according to Kennedy. I did not realize, I guess, that aspect to it, or if I did, I had forgotten. Kennedy did a great job with it for exposing it. Ken writes in, who should we blame for mentally unstable people making threats against and sometimes acting on hurting others that have differing political views? Could the blame lie at the feet of the Democrat Party and the legacy media, who for many years have worked as hard as they can to push the narrative that the Republican Party and conservatives are against Americans of every stripe? Fair point. It goes back to what we were saying about just kind of riling up people and trying to fan the flames. The media has done that for decades. You're exactly right. Oh, one other quick thing before we wrap up this hour. And we're going to talk about DHS. Yes, we're going to talk about ICE at the airports. But first, the Department of Education just took a big step closer to shutting down. The Trump administration announced yesterday, just the other day, that an interagency agreement between the Education Department and the Treasury to move student lending operations to the Treasury, which will assume operational responsibility for collecting on defaulted federal student loan debt and provide operational support for the Education Department's efforts to return borrowers to repayment. I think we've been very clear about this last week, that this is a multi-phase process, said Nicholas Kent, Undersecretary of Education. So a step closer, that's an update we haven't had for you in a while. Linda McMahon, of course, was in our area. Talked about it a little bit. Linda McMahon was in our area in Elmira, probably 2 months ago now. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about DHS. We're going to talk about the airports. As I said, we do have quite a couple things there's no real way to segue to, but I think they're important to look at the overall picture when we talk about politics as we near the midterms. So we got a couple things on that. And I know it's 2026, but we already need to talk about 2028 in some instances. We'll talk about that. And we have a lot of updates from New York State. So it's hard to believe hour number 1 is in the book. So many great comments coming in this morning. I really do appreciate it. Please keep them coming in. I had quite an outpouring last week when we brought you the story of Brown Cigar Store closing after 137 years because of the health department and their sting operation with carding. And they made a mistake and did not card somebody, and here we are 137 years in business, even though there's illegal pot shops everywhere. That was their focus. So, having said that, I do appreciate all the people that reached out and asked questions about it and had so many comments. You can feel free to weigh in even more on that if you would like. Also, don't forget, I do have 1 minute, and I didn't do a great job of promoting this last week. So I want to make sure to promote it before it happens, because I know we have so many people out there that support the Second Amendment that are big supporters, whether members of NRA, whether they're the members of SCOPE. Well, Chemung County chapter of SCOPE, which is Shooters Committee on Political Education, will be having their next meeting, which is held at Pine City Sportsman's Club, 187 Mountain View Drive in Pine City, tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. And their special guest speaker, Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. So that'll be a fun one. Tomorrow, 6:30. All right, that does it for hour number 1. Hour number 2, moments away. Stay with us. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in, and we will be right back after this.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
At William Mattar, they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, I'm not going to take any low ball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
And we welcome you to hour number 2, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're having a blast this morning. I thank you so much for joining us. Comment from a viewer. Just curious, any news about Stefanik? No, I mean, she's pretty much, I mean, she'll finish up her term in Congress. She's not running for re-election in Congress. Of course, she's not running for governor, so I don't think there's anything really to report. I know she's been busy helping out her constituents. I mean, I've seen some reports. And she does have a book coming out, too. Yeah, that's right, because I was hoping that maybe we could try to set up an interview. But I think she has a book coming out in a couple weeks, and I think it was about her fight with academia, if I'm not mistaken. So I did see a video on that the other day. But that's about really all the news I have on Stefanik. I hope that helps. Now, President Trump reportedly rejected Senate Majority Leader John Thune's proposal to cut a deal with Democrats to fund the Department of Homeland Security without funding for immigration and customs enforcement. Punchbowl News reported that on Sunday, Thune shared the proposal to Trump with a caveat that ICE could be funded down the line through reconciliation. Democrats wouldn't get some of their chief demands, banning masks for federal agents or requiring judicial warrants, if reconciliation were used. Plus, TSA agents would get their paychecks and the security line madness at airports would end. But Trump said no, according to multiple sources. The president wants Republicans to stay in D.C. and keep fighting with Democrats over DHS funding and the Save America Act. Not only that, Trump warned that he'd publicly slam Senate Republicans if they left town for the upcoming recess. Trump also said he'd invite all the GOP senators and their families for Easter dinner at the White House. Some Republicans took that as a threat, not a reward. What? And their family? Well, why would that be a threat to have Easter dinner at the White House? That's weird. Trump took to Truth Social the other day, saying, I don't think we should make any deal with the crazy, country-destroying, radical left Democrats unless and until they vote with Republicans to pass the Save America Act. Anyway. But yesterday, it was reported late that Senator Katie Britt revealed that Republican senators have a plan to end the partial government shutdown following a meeting that they had with President Trump. We do, Britt told reporters on Capitol Hill when asked if GOP had found a solution to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Britt, along with Senators Steve Daines, Republican from Idaho, Bernie Moreno, Republican from Ohio, and Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, met with Trump earlier in the evening. I feel good about it, John Thune said. I think we're in a good spot. They have not revealed details of the plan being hashed out. Okay, now at the airports, as lines, well, as a matter of fact, security lines at the world's busiest airport in Atlanta stretched for 5 hours on Sunday. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy predicted the massive waits at airports across the country are about to get much worse due to the partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Lines stretched around the building at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport on Monday, and TSA agents told travelers that the wait for some areas at the airport, which handled 160 million travelers last year, was 5 hours, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Nearly 400 TSA workers have already quit during the DHS shutdown, and Duffy warned that even more will walk off the job if they miss their second full paycheck, which is coming up on Friday. A lot of people are saying that is a major day. That's a very big day. I think you're going to see more TSA agents as we come to Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. They're going to quit or they're not going to show up. I do think it's going to get much worse, and as it gets worse, I think that puts pressure on Congress to come up with a resolution. So 5 hour wait. I saw one reported a 6 hour wait, only going to get worse before it gets better. Now, Trump did ask the ICE agents who are helping TSA out to not wear masks. Trump warned that he would move ICE agents to airports swiftly if Democrats did not immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular our airports, be free and safe again. While he made it clear that he generally supports ICE agents wearing masks, he prefers they forego face coverings while helping address the Democratic-caused mess at the airport, saying, quote, I'm a big proponent of ICE wearing masks as they search for and are forced to deal with hardened criminals, many of whom were let into our country by sleepy Joe Biden and his wonderful border czar, Kamala. She never even went to the border. Through their absolutely insane open border policy. I would greatly appreciate, however, no masks when helping our country out of the Democrat-caused mess at the airports, etc. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. Now, the media started with the fear-mongering right away because of a viral video of a woman being nabbed by ICE agents at the San Francisco International Airport. It sparked mass online fear-mongering about Trump's deployment of immigration agents to help ease the TSA worry. Video captured the moment ICE agents began handcuffing a crying woman on Sunday at around 10 p.m. inside the airport's Terminal 3. The officers were met with backlash from multiple passengers who filmed the scene and yelled at them, as the woman continued to cry with a young girl standing beside her also sobbing. "This is un-American," one passenger said. "What is your badge number? What is your name?" One of the people filming asks an agent holding the crying woman by the head. However, the Department of Homeland Security told Fox News that the woman was part of a family of illegal Guatemalan migrants who had had removal orders since 2019. Agents arrested the family members as part of a targeted operation, but as they were being escorted away, the woman broke free and ran, according to DHS. DHS accused the woman of resisting arrest as agents tried to cuff her again. The airport also confirmed that the arrest was unrelated to Trump's order to deploy ICE agents at busy air hubs around the country to try and ease the wait times of the TSA lines. A spokesperson, Doug Yackel, said, "We understand federal officers were transporting 2 individuals on an outbound flight when this incident occurred. We believe this is an isolated incident and have no reason to suspect broader enforcement actions at SFO." After the arrest, the agents appeared to have trouble moving the woman as a crowd of passengers yelled and booed at them, with the hecklers eventually calling the police. The ICE agents were able to leave with the woman, with San Francisco police present during the detention. The Sanctuary City Police neither assisted nor intervened in the arrest. The women and children who were in the video have not yet been publicly identified. All right. So unrelated to the ICE being involved with TSA. Now, Liz Peek says Americans are furious, and rightfully so. Squabbling between Democrats and Republicans in Congress has led to a partial shutdown of our government and a whole lot of aggravated millions of Americans traveling for spring break. It is an outrage. Democrats refuse to fund Department of Homeland Security, which includes ICE, to show their anger over deportation activities in Minnesota that left 2 protesters dead. But ICE has been funded through 2029. Democrats' stubbornness is pointless, but painful. Cutting off monies flowing to the Transportation Security Administration and other parts of the DHS have nothing to do with border control and has crippled airport security. Republicans refuse to cater to Democrats' showboating. They are blocking attempts to fund only those parts of the DHS that Hakeem Jeffries and his colleagues will agree to, which include the TSA. I say, fix this. As wait times in airports extend to multiple hours, with security lines snaking around terminals, Congress needs to do its job. There's a reason that Congress's popularity is in the gutter. Gallup's last read on how Americans view Congress shows only 16% approving of the job our House and Senate members are doing. 16%. That's one of the worst ratings on record, surpassed only by the 14% approval Congress earned when it shut down last November. The lowest approval rating on record, a ghastly 9%, was posted in November of 2013 during yet another federal budget impasse. There's a message there. Get to work. Surveys show NFL replacement referees, colonoscopies, and toenail fungus among the many items that are more popular than Congress. But Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer might be less amused to hear that ICE, the agency Democrats love to hate, also has higher approval ratings than Congress. Americans are split on who to blame for the TSA nightmare. Republicans blame Democrats, who have now shut down our government 4 times in the past 18 months. Schumer seems convinced that opposing Trump is the #1 mission, and forget about the country. Polling over the past year has shown Democrats angry that their legislators are not doing more to block Trump's agenda. Schumer, along with his House counterpart, Hakeem Jeffries, is responding to those polls by refusing to pay TSA, FEMA, and some Coast Guard personnel. It's a lousy way to treat hundreds of thousands of hardworking government employees. Republicans have balked at Democrats' offer to fund only parts of DHS, including the TSA, confident that Schumer et al. Will let the lapse in ICE and Border Patrol funding continue indefinitely. Democrats have so demonized the agencies responsible for protecting our border that not paying the folks who track down child traffickers and people on the terror watch list seems like a winning strategy to them. This despite our country suffering no less than 4 terror attacks in recent weeks and continuing to be at risk thanks to the war with Iran and 4 years of President Joe Biden allowing millions to cross our border unchecked. It is unconscionable that Democrats are denying their fellow countrymen the protections afforded by the Department of Homeland Security, which was forged in the ashes of September 11th. Yes, long TSA lines are aggravating, but failing to protect our country is much graver offense. The White House and Republicans have made numerous concessions to Democrats, including requiring that ICE agents wear body cameras and also not permitting enforcement activities in sensitive locations like schools and churches. In addition, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who is Trump's nominee to replace Noem, has indicated he will agree to further Democrat demands, such as requiring judicial warrants as opposed to administrative warrants, thus slowing enforcement activity. But President Trump and those in charge of ICE will not ban agents from wearing masks. They are required to carry identification and to provide that upon request, but wearing masks helps protect them and their families from being doxxed by activists who have decided that these federal law enforcement officials are the enemy. ICE agents have come under increasing attack in recent months. There have been instances of pro-immigrant groups publishing their names and home addresses and also assaulting officers. Apparently, Democrats want to encourage more of the same by prohibiting the wearing of masks, thus making ICE agents more easily identifiable. This coming Friday, TSA employees will have gone a month without a paycheck. Is it any wonder that many are not showing up for work? Is it any wonder that the security lines are only getting longer? Republicans should follow Senator Cruz's suggestion, which is fund the TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard immediately and create another budget reconciliation bill, which could pass later in the year in order to secure money for ICE. They can use the reconciliation process to achieve other high-priority objectives, including providing funding for the SAVE Act. Using the reconciliation approach, which permitted the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill, allows the narrow GOP majority to bypass the filibuster problem and get on with the nation's work. That's a win-win, and that's what the country wants right now. A little bit more on that when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Give kids time.
And a window of opportunity is opening, and if you don't adjust your investing strategies now, you and your portfolio may miss out. Think about all the parabolic stock moves you've missed simply because you weren't prepared. Well, not this time. My new book, Unbreakable Investor, will teach you how I'm already capitalizing on today's opportunities with winning trades like these.
Everyone should read this book.
My investing performance has improved.
I got the book, and it's been one of the best things I've ever done.
Charles Payne's book has allowed me to finally achieve the results that I'm looking for.
I have made substantial gains over what my broker produced over the years.
If you're considering getting Charles's book, don't wait.
Text me right now, and I'll send you a free copy.
Text the word GIFT to 505-505 to claim your free copy of Charles Payne's new book, Unbreakable Investor. Text GIFT to 505-505 and claim your free copy while supplies last. Text GIFT to 505-505 now.
Our Tuesday will send us well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s, again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studios. I'm sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. All right, a lot of people asking, have you heard anything more about Musk paying the TSA? A lot of people sent that in. Sorry, I have not heard anything more about that. I know he tweeted out that he would, but nothing else has come from that. Musk said he would pay TSA agents during the Democrat-inspired shutdown. Wouldn't he get paid back when the Democrats decide to reopen the government, or would the agents get paid twice for the same period? Well, I think technically he should get the money back, like kind of fronting the government the money. But I don't think it ever got that far to really have those kind of discussions. But yeah, you would think he would get paid back. I mean, that's a lot of money. But that's, I don't know. I don't think it ever got that much into the specifics. Comment from a different viewer. Well, according to CNN, ICE agents at Atlanta airport have sped up boarding by 44 minutes after just being there a couple of days. I have not heard that. But not even a couple of days. Well, yeah, I guess technically a couple of days. It just started yesterday. So no, I have not heard that. But thank you for passing it along. I'd have to do a little bit more research about, because that seems like an unlikely story from CNN, but it's probably buried in an article. Daniel McCarthy says Democrats who want to defund ICE aren't getting away with the political hostage taking they're using to do it. They're trying to hold the TSA funding hostage until their demands for weakening immigration and customs enforcement are met. That means they're also subjecting millions of air travelers to added anxiety and, worse, security line waits that stretch into hours. As of Saturday, half the nation's busiest airports had more than a third of TSA agents call out sick. Passengers at LaGuardia were in line for up to 3 hours on Sunday, not because of the fatal Air Canada accident late that evening, but because TSA was understaffed all day. What's President Donald Trump doing about it? He's called the Democrats' bluff. Instead of gutting immigration enforcement, he sent ICE into more than a dozen of the nation's busiest airports to make up for TSA's missing manpower. Democrats predictably are furious and fear-mongering to the nth degree. Hakeem Jeffries saying the last thing American people need is for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports across the country, potentially to brutalize or to kill them. That's what Hakeem Jeffries thinks of ICE agents, folks. What about the Americans brutalized and killed by illegal alien criminals? How about that? Says Daniel McCarthy. Could we have that conversation? If Jeffries and his party succeeded in chipping away at ICE, more Americans like 18-year-old Loyola University student Sheridan Gorman will die. And I don't know if you've heard that story, but we'll talk about that in just a second. The man, well, we'll continue here, but what some of politicians are saying. The man charged with Miss Gorman's death, her murder, I should say, is a Venezuelan national who was breaking the law just by being in this country. Yet the enforcement necessary to keep killers like him out or to send them back promptly if they do get through our borders is what Democrats aim to dismantle. Illegal alien criminals, not law enforcement officials, are the threat to ordinary American lives and well-being. But Jeffries and his fellow Democrats choose to demonize ICE. They're beholden to a left-wing activist base that wants little less than open borders, as the immigration crisis brought about by the last Democratic administration showed. Voters' repudiation of that agenda, but Trump's election on a platform of serious immigration enforcement hasn't chastised Jeffries or his counterpart in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. They're determined to take the country back to the Joe Biden era, when the likes of Sheridan Gorman's killer could enter with ease. Yet what Democrats don't foresee is that Trump would repair their sabotage of America's transportation security by using the very agency Jeffries and company are trying to destroy. ICE is proving to be doubly invaluable now for its primary task of immigration enforcement, but also as a fallback for TSA when Democrats play shutdown games with Homeland Security. The only risk to travelers is that leftist provocateurs will attempt to manufacture conflict to besmirch ICE, a strategy they employed to deadly effect in Minneapolis. Yet the country can't give in to intimidation if innocent lives like Gorman's or Laken Riley's are to be saved. Jeffries and Schumer may not plot their tactics over the phone with anti-ICE street activists, but they're working from the same playbook. Create tense, frustrating, even dangerous situations, then channel the resulting outrage against law enforcement. It's true ICE agents can't substitute for trained TSA personnel in providing all airport security needs, but they can cover the basics, while remaining TSA employees, whom Democrats refuse to pay during the standoff, handle the specialized work. And if Jeffries and Schumer still don't budge, how long before even the most selfless TSA worker can't afford to eat or pay rent because of the Democrat stunt? ICE is funded separately. We know this. And ICE is set up to hire quickly. So if Democrats keep Homeland Security and TSA shut down, Trump might have another way to rescue the travelers and government workers who are all Schumer's hostages. The president could hire the best TSA worker straight into ICE, immediately acquiring the skills necessary for the enforcement agency to run airport security indefinitely. That's a good idea. Kind of do a quick switcheroo there so they get paid. And if anti-ICE activists attempt any mischief, the president has other possibilities at hand. He's already contemplated putting the National Guard in airports. Law enforcement of every kind, but especially immigration enforcement, has been vilified for years by liberal media, which has taken a toll on public opinion. Yes, I mean, it's very much like the defund the police. Vilifying the armed forces isn't so easy, and progressive propagandists have tried it to nearly the same extent. Congressional Democrats think of our airports the way the Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps thinks about the Strait of Hormuz, as a choke point to get a chokehold on America and force concessions. What Schumer and Jeffries are doing would be unconscionable at any time. But in wartime, defunding Homeland Security is more than malicious, it's potentially deadly. The Democrats should cut their losses. Thanks to Trump's ingenuity and perseverance, they've already lost their war with law enforcement. I thought that was a really good piece by Daniel McCarthy. But we mentioned Sheridan Gordon being murdered. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker broke its silence on the murder of the Loyola University freshman who was allegedly killed by Venezuelan national Jose Medina, telling Fox News that they are grieving the young woman's death and that President Trump is wrongly politicizing tragedies like it. A Democrat talking about politicizing tragedies. Interesting. Our thoughts are with family, friends, and Loyola University community grieving the senseless murder of Sheridan Gorman. Violent crime has no place in our streets, and we expect that alleged perpetrator be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. The Trump administration needs to stop politicizing heinous tragedies and instead focus on real solutions, like restraining federal funds to prevent violence that support our public safety efforts. What? Pritzker, however, did not respond to a second question on whether he would instruct Illinois authorities to abide by the Laken-Riley Act and hold illegal immigrants, including Medina, until the feds can pick them up. Now, it got really bad. So there's a progressive Chicago Democrat who's now taking heat because she blamed the student that was murdered for her murder. A progressive Chicago Democrat suggested that a Loyola University Chicago student who was allegedly executed by an illegal migrant caused her own murder and that she was, quote, in the wrong place at the wrong time. Chicago alderwoman Marie Hayden was speaking after Sheridan Gorman, an 18-year-old from Yorktown, New York, was shot dead on Thursday morning while she walked with friends along the city's lakefront near campus. Hayden said the deadly shooting appeared to be a case of Gorman being in the wrong place at the wrong time, running into a person who had a gun. They might have unintentionally startled the person at the end of the pier. We don't believe there is cause for broader community concern. Wow. An illegal Venezuelan migrant, 25-year-old Jose Medina, was arrested and charged with the killing. Hayden's comments come despite police reports that Gorman's killer stalked her from behind for some time before shooting her at point-blank range and fleeing the scene. Hayden was accused of having, quote, pretty much blamed Sheridan Gorman for her own murder. These people are sick, said another Twitter user. Another ex-user accused Hayden of downplaying the murder of an American citizen in defense of a Venezuelan gangbanging invader. Blaming the victim for startling the armed illegal invader, you, Maria Hayden, are garbage, said a third person. Hayden has not responded to immediate request for comment. Okay, we got to move on from here because I do have some, like I said, some political issues that we have to mention. Just kind of quickly, I do want to get into some New York State topics. Not a ton, but a couple things definitely worth mentioning. You can change the topic at any time. Just keep those comments coming in. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WYDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
At Carpenters, Phillips & Flint, we want people to know that we're a welcoming family.
We not only serve our community, but we live in our community. Our kids go to school here. It's not uncommon to see one of us at a local business or for a walk at a sporting event.
The community here and everything it has to offer, I can't think of a better place to raise my children.
We are a part of this community and we're invested in this community.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some viewer comments. With people like Pritzker, Jeffries, Schumer, and the gang, to name a few, the Democrats can really pick them. In other words, under what rock have they found this trash? Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Keep hearing ICE is untrained to be at airports. What do they do at the border? X-ray trucks and packages. Search people for drugs, weapons, and contraband. They check IDs, passports, and documents. They detain people that should not enter our country. That's pretty much what TSA does on a daily basis. Fair point. Ken writes in, the ICE protesters haven't decided the ICE agents are out of control. They have been propagandized into believing that they are out of control by people like Hakeem Jeffries, who on national television stated that he fears they will kill citizens in the airports. Yeah, that rhetoric that he used goes to show you their true disdain, their hate for our law enforcement agencies, specifically in that case, ICE. I do have and feel free to weigh in on any of these topics we've been discussing all morning long. I'm just moving along here. Chuck Schumer wrote an op-ed yesterday at the New York Times that says, this is Trump's plan to guarantee the midterms. And of course, it was suggesting that the Save America Act is, what's he always call it, Jim Crow 2.0. Democrats are united in opposing the SAVE Act. We know the right to vote is not a partisan advantage to be engineered or withheld. It is the foundation of American democracy. So that's his argument for not wanting voter IDs and making sure you vote legally so that my vote isn't negated, that my vote isn't erased by an illegal vote. But the reason I mention that is, remember when Jon Stewart was very critical of Chuck Schumer and saying the strongly worded letters aren't working anymore? People are saying that Chuck Schumer just doesn't have it. He's not the quote-unquote leader that the Democrats need during a Trump term, that he's just going the old school way of like strongly worded letters. Well, U.S. Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, this weekend refused to say whether or not he would vote to keep Chuck Schumer as Senate Majority Leader. This is getting more interesting by the day, how many Democrats are turning on Chuck Schumer. Schumer has faced criticism for his handling of last year's government shutdown and for his response to various Trump administration actions. I would say his criticism of handling this, when you really think about it, they gave away all their leverage in this, and that's why the partial shutdown is just about DHS. I mean, a lot of Democrats at the time said, why would you give away some of our biggest funding issues and just keep that one little niche? Why not keep them all when we have more power? But anyway, according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal, Murphy was recently overheard at a Washington, D.C. restaurant talking about whether or not there was enough votes to oust the minority leader. On NBC's Meet the Press this weekend, Murphy said the Senate Democrat caucus was united on policy issues, but refused to answer Kristen Welker when she asked whether or not he would vote to keep Schumer in that position. Here's a display in politics. We're going to be united in winning the election this November. So right now we are together as a caucus. Welker says, so if you do win the election, would you vote to keep him as leader? Murphy, well, listen, I think he has a very tough job, and right now you are seeing the Democratic caucus united. That's really important. Welker saying that's not a yes. Murphy, well, no, we are united as a caucus right now. Okay. By the way, I know there's that tough race. Senator John Cornyn. Boy, he's receiving a lot of criticism. Senator John Cornyn voted to confirm double-digit numbers of President Joe Biden's judicial nominees responsible for blocking the Trump administration's agenda. The revelations are the latest as the embattled Texas senator's record is under increased scrutiny since the March 3rd primary, when the incumbent failed to avoid a runoff and finished only a point ahead of his runoff opponent, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Despite Cornyn and his allies outspending the grassroots favorite Paxton by more than $70 million to a paltry $4 million. The consequences for the Trump administration are severe. Biden judges confirmed with cover from Cornyn are blocking Trump from enforcing immigration law, fighting fraud, even implementing tariffs that had successfully reduced the trade imbalance with communist China and ensured Mexican collaboration to ending the pouring of deadly fentanyl into the U.S. Most of those judges were confirmed during the 117th Congress when Republicans had leverage due to the Senate's even bipartisan split. Yet, due to support from Cornyn and other establishment Republicans, none of those confirmation votes required Vice President Harris to break a tie. Oh, interesting. Like I said, we're just going through some political issues quickly. According to study finds, get this, politicians who often hurl insults get 9 times the media coverage. But, according to study finds, but 0 extra votes or donations. I don't know if I agree with that. Because if you see the money that pours in after you have, well, I guess it depends on what they say hurl insults is. That's where it gets a little difficult. Researchers analyzed more than 2.2 million public statements from the 118th Congress and found that lawmakers who frequently hurl personal insults attract far more media attention than colleagues who focus on policy debate. Despite the outsized media attention, personal attacks showed no meaningful association with fundraising totals, election margins, legislative output, or changes in personal wealth. The most combative lawmakers are not representing the most politically hostile districts, suggesting they are playing to national media audiences rather than responding to constituents' demands. Researchers warn that the media's appetite for conflict may be sustaining norm-breaking rhetoric in Congress, even without any electoral or financial reward to back it up. 9 times more media attention. All right, we got a couple of Republican updates as well. Then we are going to get into local and statewide issues. I know I mentioned this quickly in the program last week, but many people want to get involved this year, whether it's your local elections. It's going to be a big year. You want to take out petitions, you want to be a part of a campaign, but also maybe an opportunity to run. The Corning Painted Post School District is now accepting petitions for its Board of Education elections. 3 seats are up, each with a 3-year term. Candidates can pick up petitions from District Clerk Ashley Winters at the Administrative Building in Painted Post on weekdays from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Petitions must include at least 100 qualified signatures and be submitted by April 29th. 100 is not that bad, folks. So if you're interested, you got about a little over a month. So go get those petitions now. And if you do, let me know. We'll set up an interview. We'll talk about the campaign. All right, let's take that short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
New York State giving nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Walking Mess is so uplifting. You see how the community rallies around us, saying we're going to fight this thing with you, no matter how long it takes or what it takes.
I love the energy at Walk MS. It is community, it is family. I can ride that high for the rest of the year.
A cure is on the line for me.
A cure is on the line for all of us.
Our Tuesday will send us well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s, again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills a bit into Friday, but drier thereafter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Comments coming in from viewers and waves coming in from viewers. Appreciate it. Hochul's housing plan, she's trying to get some cheap houses from Florida or Texas, is where she thinks she can get her tax base. Yeah, that was uncomfortable, wasn't it? Speaking of which, well, I'll tell you, it's not Hochul, but 6 and 1/2 dozen another. Did you see Ron DeSantis go after Gavin Newsom? We'll talk about that in just a second. Okay. An anonymous source has confirmed to me the demise of the Democrat Party beginning with the upcoming midterms. Well, I like it. We'll start doing the anonymous source routine, too. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Hakeem, the liberal dream, never speaks common sense. He has been groomed by Chuck Schumer to be the next thorn in the Republican side. They never speak about illegals killing American college students. What do they get paid to do? Just complain? Thank you very much. Yeah, Ron DeSantis trolled Gavin Newsom, insisting that his Republican father-in-law is much happier in the Sunshine State under his leadership. Newsom's father-in-law, Kenneth Siebel, became a Florida resident in 2020 after purchasing a $3.3 million Naples home. In a sit-down with Sean Hannity, DeSantis reiterated his claim that Siebel praised him and his state at a fundraiser saying, "You run such a great state. It's so refreshing to be here. We've never been happier. We love the way everything's going." And then he paused and looked up and said, "Oh, by the way, I am Gavin Newsom's father-in-law." Oh, that's a good line. Now, DeSantis has not ruled out, whatever you think of this. Oh, my goodness. So many comments coming in. Keep them coming in. DeSantis has not refused to rule out a White House run in 2028. We know he didn't do that great. Let's be honest. I mean, I like Ron DeSantis. It didn't translate to kind of a national presidential thing. He said, "We'll see," when asked if he would run for president again. DeSantis, 47, is term limited and will leave office in January of 2027, about a year before the start of the presidential primaries. The governor was viewed as one of the most viable alternatives to Trump in the 2024 GOP primaries, but he dropped out of the race shortly after a second-place finish in the Iowa caucus. Trump topped DeSantis by roughly 30 percentage points in Iowa. DeSantis argued that had Trump not been running, he would have garnered the support. In 2024, like in Iowa, the people that voted for Trump, if he wasn't running, I would have gotten like 90% of those people. They were conservative voters, right? They didn't want the non-conservative. They wanted me. The timing didn't work out, obviously, for that one. All right. Oh, to this viewer's point, and then we're going to get into local and state issues. Arnon Mishkin at Fox News says, to read much political analysis, the results of the November midterm election are already set. You've heard me say this on the program before. It's all over but the shouting. It's a blue wave. Democrats are going to win. We might even not even bother voting. That's what they want you to think, right? The recent Fox News poll showed Democrats leading Republicans by 6 points in support for the House. Similar, last November, both New Jersey and Virginia elected Democratic governors by double digits, suggesting an energized Democratic electorate and a demoralized Republican one. And given that the Republicans' current razor-thin 218 to 214 margin in the House, a loss of only 3 Republican-held seats would give the Democrats control. Over in the Senate, the Democrats face more challenging, though not impossible, odds. As the cliche goes, a week is a long time in politics, and the election is not for 7 months. All off-year elections represent a referendum on the president. And given President Trump's ability to dominate and disrupt, that's especially true this November. Fortunately for the GOP, there remain a host of known unknowns, issues that will likely affect the outcome of November's election more than the state of the race in March. The obvious known unknown is always the economy. But this year, given the current bombing of Iran, the change in leadership in Venezuela, and the uncertainty about Cuba, Trump's unorthodox foreign policy actions may be decisive. People in the know will tell you foreign policy never matters in elections. They're wrong. A president's foreign actions, especially militarily, have an enormous impact on the perception of a president's strength. President Joe Biden's chaotic pullout of troops from Afghanistan transformed his job approval overnight. It never recovered. In the face of disruptive Don, Biden had campaigned as Serious Joe. But the results in Afghanistan, where 13 U.S. soldiers died, made many Americans agree with Trump he was sleepy. In contrast to Biden, Trump seeks to show that his creative disruption is yielding dividends for the U.S. The likely political impact will be measured more by the actual outcome in the near future rather than today's polling that suggests voter skepticism. Trump's disruption seems to have worked in Venezuela, where the U.S. military removed a dictator and where the government seems, for the first time in over a quarter century, to be acting in a friendly manner with the U.S. At the end of February, consistent with his persona, Trump again rolled the dice, killing the top leadership of Iran, a country that for almost half a century has embarrassed and threatened the U.S., and we know all about that. In Iran, Trump faces the adversary that over 60% of American voters think poses a real threat to the U.S. Voters disagree over whether Trump's actions are correct. More than 80% of Republicans think they're correct, and a similar 8 in 10 Democrats oppose them. But what's going to matter is whether he gets a clear win, as in Venezuela, or not. The recent results are clearly mixed. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and Iran seems to have successfully closed the Strait of Hormuz. And at the same time, the bombing continues, causing significant damage. Anyway, I'm not making a military prediction of how many of these disruptions will be seen in 8 months, but their outcome will likely decisively define Trump's disruptive presidency. And if you want an idea of who's going to win in the midterms, it's those known unknowns that will decide, not Trump's current dismal poll results. All right, we got to take another short break. Wow, look at all these comments. Keep them coming in, and we will be right back with New York State issues after this. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments, shall we? Good morning, Frank. Have you heard the report that both Apple News and Google News do not cover any breaking news from conservative news outlets? I have heard that, and I heard that I think it was Apple that had a little bit more conservative, or maybe you could say slight leaning to the right, and just like a 1% increase, and people were outraged. Yes, I did hear something to that effect, but I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. All right, comment from a different viewer. Hello, Frank. Chuck Schumer and Kathy Hochul need to retire. Yep, I'm on the same page. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. So I see Trump blabbing this morning about a deal they are working on with Iran. That's why there's a 5-day hold on destroying Iran's utility infrastructure. The regime doesn't care. All the U.S. will do is hurt the Iranian general population that the regime doesn't care about anyway. Then the news reports Iran says they haven't talked with the U.S. about anything. So who do I believe? Donald Trump Pinocchio or the radical Iranian regime? I'd say Trump is a liar. These regimes and terrorists groups don't ever wave a white flag. All right. Wow, look. What am I missing here? All these waves coming in. Thank you. How about this one? Good morning, Frank. Thank you for your honest reporting. Love the show. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you to everybody sending in those not last second waves, but a couple of quick New York State issues. First of all, in Steuben County, the legislature has demanded immediate state review of the soaring electric costs. Friend to Frankly Speaking, Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick, said part of the PSC responsibility is to ensure, that meaning the Public Service Commission, is to ensure that our electric service is done at just and reasonable rates. What is currently happening in our state is making utility bills completely unaffordable to families. This must be investigated. So they sent a resolution to NYSEG and others, the New York State Public Service Commission. I know there's been a lot of towns that have done this as well, so we're glad to see the Steuben County Legislature getting on that as well. Okay, at the state level, New York won't ask gun permit applicants for social media under court settlement. This was Something that was done in the past, New Yorkers applying for concealed carry permits will no longer, because remember, at one time this was a rule, no longer to be required to share their social media accounts with police, according to a settlement proposed in federal court last week. State officials required concealed carry applicants to provide a list of their social media accounts as part of a sweeping gun safety law back in 2022. Governor Hochul signed the Concealed Carry Improvement Act days after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down New York's prior gun licensing regulations, finding it gave law enforcement too much power to subjectively decide who should get permits to carry guns. Hochul said at the time that social media reviews would be part of a more comprehensive application process. We're now going to raise the bar and make sure that people are truly responsible gun owners only once they receive a permit. Second Amendment advocates filed a slew of lawsuits challenging various aspects of the law, including the social media requirement. While the state is still defending most of the law, the Attorney General's office agreed that it would not enforce the social media requirement and ensure it did not appear on applications for concealed carry permits. Luis Valdez, a spokesperson for Gun Owners of America, said checking applicants' social media violated their rights. The fact that the state of New York was demanding social media information from a gun owner is very despotic. All right, we got some other state issues. Stay with us. Time to get your last second comments in because we're just about ready to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I wish to present the importance of hard work and determination, of not backing down when things are tough, of being there to help a friend, because it is only when we work together that we achieve true greatness.
With a 100% U.S.-based workforce and a 100% U.S.-built fiber broadband network, Spectrum is America's connectivity company.
There Tuesday, Wilson is well into the 40s with some sunshine. 48 is right on track with average, then bottoming out on the cool side of freezing, mid and upper 20s, again, rather seasonable. Sending temperatures into the mid-50s by Wednesday. We do have some rain possible Thursday and Thursday night with the temps approaching and falling just below freezing. That spills a bit into Friday, but drier thereafter.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Frank, yep, if I had a choice between believing a president of the United States and a mullah from Iran who chants death to America, I would believe the mullah every time. Not. Yes, I know. I think that was kind of a weak argument. But I think it shows kind of the level of hatred for Trump out there. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Next time a Steuben County legislator is on your show, please ask them why they auction 100 properties a year and keep all the money they receive from the sale instead of taking only what is owed in back taxes and giving the rest to the property owner. It should be criminal what they're doing with $118 million surplus. Thank you. Yes, next time I have one on, legislator, I will absolutely. That's a great question. Comment from a different viewer. The 51st state, upstate. I like it. Bookends there at the beginning of the show and the end of the show. Comment from a different viewer. Thanks again, Frank, for all you do for our area, and the reporting on the national news is fabulous. Thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. So many nice words today. What am I missing today? Frank, enjoy your day. You too. Thank you. And an extra bonus wave at the end. It's very kind. Everybody's so nice this morning. Mark says, well, that's one win for gun owners, but we need many more. Yes, you're right. Have a great day. Thank you, Mark. You have a great day as well. Now, the Supreme Court has declined to hear the challenge to New York's even year election law. What a mess. So this is really only if you decide to run. But think about, okay, you're running for town council. And because of the even year laws, you would be running at the same time as the congressman, maybe the Senate race, the presidential race, there is no way that you will be able to get any coverage whatsoever. And then it doesn't even change anything for villages, and what a mess. Thousands of to what Steuben County was saying, thousands of upstate New York businesses face utility shutoffs sparked by hefty power bills. 3 times as many upstate New York business customers in January and February were at risk of losing power because of unpaid national grid bills compared with last year. Last year, 1,475 non-residential electric and natural gas accounts were eligible for shutoff in January and February across upstate. This year, 4,437 were. That's a 200% increase. Now, there's a couple upstate towns. We talked about, who did we talk to? About Phil Palmisano about this. Upstate New York towns are raising their hand to host a nuclear reactor, as part of Hochul's plan. Several upstate communities have raised their hand to host a nuclear reactor in response to the state's request last fall, according to Governor Hochul's office. Currently, New York has about 3.4 gigawatts spread over 3 reactors near Lake Ontario and Oswego. So it doesn't. A total of 8 communities expressed interest, including the Finger Lakes, the Binghamton area, St. Lawrence County across the border from Ottawa, Dunkirk on Lake Erie, and Rochester. 3 sites on Lake Ontario also expressed interest, including Oswego County, which hosts the state's current reactors and provides about 20% of New York's power. Interesting. And there is, comment from a viewer. Frank, the state police are doing the same social media checks with their new requirements to renew your pistol permit every 3 years. That should be stopped also, but I don't know if that has been taken to court. Well, it sounds like that's going to be completely off the application to get your pistol permit. I'm not sure how that you would think it would be the same rule in that lawsuit for your renewal. That's a great point. Yeah, that didn't mention that specifically in the article. Great point. So intrusive, draconian. Why Kathy Hochul and New York Democrats fear questions about Medicaid fraud, says the New York Post editorial board. The main investigator is the Medical Fraud Control Unit in the State Attorney General's office. From 2020 through 2024, reports it completed an average of just 8 probes per $1 billion spent, the 3rd lowest among the 50 states and 63% below the U.S. average. And now the Democratic-controlled state Senate is pushing reforms to arguably hamstring the Office of the Medicaid Inspector General, which can audit hospitals, nursing home, and other care providers. A lot of beaks are dipped in the state's Medicaid pool, and New York's political class wants to keep it that way. Federal investigators can't dig fast or deeply enough. That does it for today's... Oh, yeah, think about that. The New York State budget's due on April 1st. I don't think any of us believe it'll actually get there on April 1st, but there's a couple sticking points. According to Times Union, the Hochul wants to see the changes to New York's energy and emissions mandates. Hochul's proposed SEQRA shakeup, the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Hochul's proposal to combat car insurance costs and fraud. Protest buffer zones around houses of worship, and helping New York City close its $5.4 billion budget gap. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone for the great comments. We had a busy show this morning. I know I say it almost every morning, but that was a lot of fun. I hope you had as much fun as I did. I hope that you'll tune in every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. Look forward to it already.
It's Championship in March at our Declaration of Deals event. Right now at Chilson Wilcox, save $10,000 on Ram 1500 during Truck Month. Choose from 25 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokees on the lot. Save $8,800. Or get 0% for 60 months or no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of loyalty and conquest offers, plus $2,000 in sell-down bonus cash. Declaration of Deals Championship in March event, now at Chilson Wilcox. Don't miss it. Hurry in today before the buzzer sounds.